Hey, welcome to Epilogue. Thanks for joining us. Today I get to sit down with Laura McMeans. She's a member in our church, and she wrote our devotional on encouragement during our UR series. And so we're going to sit down and dive deep into encouragement and how to just get better at it and what to do when we're struggling with it. And so I really hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Thanks. Well, Laura, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it. Your first time on the podcast.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Have you ever been on a podcast before?
Okay, so I recorded a podcast with a friend of mine,
Cool.
and it was up for about 6 hours, and they decided to completely change the format of the podcast and took it down.
Oh man.
So yes and no.
So short life there for that
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. I've done an interview,
Okay.
never been on a podcast.
That's awesome. Well, I'm pretty new at it too. So
Okay,
thanks for
good,
joining us,
good.
and we'll see how this
That's okay.
goes.
We're gonna figure it out together.
We are
Mhm.
learning as we go.
Excellent.
Well, hey, we're having you on here because you wrote some devotionals. We did them last week. If y'all are following along with our UR series and you did the devotionals on encouragement, Laura wrote those, and so thanks for leading us in that. I really enjoyed reading them. I was challenged by them personally, and just
Good.
thinking through, wow, okay, that's convicting in parts, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
and so thanks for doing that.
Mhm.
I really appreciate it. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but thought I'd give folks a chance just to get to know you a little bit.
Okay,
So
yeah.
how long have you been at Faith Bible? We were trying to figure this out earlier.
Yeah. It's been a while. I
Yeah.
just remember when we first started, my kids were the grades were like first, second, third, fourth,
Yeah.
fifth, and sixth, and they changed it to 2 grades at a time. And so my younger daughter missed going up to the big kids where all the video games were.
Okay.
And so she was very, very upset about
Yeah.
that. So that was about 8 or 9 years ago.
Wow.
Maybe
Okay.
10. Yeah.
Yeah. Somewhere in
It's
that
been a long
range.
time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Almost as long. So I've been here 11 years. So almost as long. We've been here most of the same time together. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been a part of a bunch of different ministries,
Yes.
and I know you lead worship and for our re-ministries,
mhm.
and got some talent there playing acoustic guitar
Yeah.
and singing.
Yeah.
And so thanks for the way you do that.
Thank
Love
you.
how
I
you do
enjoy
that.
it.
What else have you been involved in?
Well, when my kids were in kids ministry, I helped with the kids ministry. Was kind of a substitute Sunday school teacher, just when the regular teacher couldn't be there.
Yeah.
And then I started with Reengage. I went through Regen and Reengage personally,
Yeah.
and just really fell in love with those ministries.
Awesome.
I hope to be a leader in them someday. It's just
Awesome.
there's
Cool.
a lot of personal stuff going on right now that I
Yeah.
really need to focus on my family at the
Yeah.
moment.
So wisdom in that, just focusing
Yeah,
on life
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
And
Cool.
then I'm helping out with a few tasks with the women's ministry
Awesome.
and the retreat this October.
Cool.
Mhm.
So yeah, a lot of ways that you've been able to
Yeah.
serve over the years. Brian, your husband's a
Uh-huh.
deacon, and
Yes.
so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
He sports that fancy blue shirt every week, and
Yes,
so
he
yeah,
does.
awesome. Sweet. Well, I thought we'd ask just some fun questions. Not that those weren't fun, but like
Oh,
just
yeah.
some if you've ever played Hot Seat, we're gonna play that for a second. I'm
Okay.
just gonna ask you
Great.
some
I'm down.
whatever first thought that comes to mind. So
Okay.
here we go. You ready?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. This is Get to Know Laura McMeans. Okay, here we go. Morning person or night owl?
Oh, night owl.
Okay. All right. Cats or dogs?
Oh, cats.
Cats. Okay. Most of our folks have been dog people. I'm a dog person myself,
Uh-huh.
but we allow cat people on the show every once in a while.
I have both and I love them
Okay,
both.
good,
But right
good.
now it's
All right.
cats.
Right now it's cats. Okay. If you could have any dinner with any person, dead or alive, who would that be? And listen, you can't give the good Christian answer and say Jesus. Like, so any
Yeah.
person in history, who would that be?
Peter.
Peter. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Love to know Peter and what was going on in his mind half the time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. All right. Best concert you've ever been to?
I'm gonna say Ed Sheeran.
Ed
And
Sheeran.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
He puts on a fantastic
He
show.
really does.
Now, did you go to one where he had a full band or just him on an acoustic guitar?
It was mostly just him on the acoustic
Because
guitar.
see, I think
and
that would be awesome.
yes, just the technicality and the forethought and planning that went into it.
Mhm.
Like he's just a phenomenal musician,
Yeah.
and his team and just everything he did. It was very impressive.
That's cool. I've seen live videos and just gone, man, that'd be a fun show to go to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Last show you binge watched?
Oh my goodness.
Maybe you don't binge watch shows.
I'm watching through okay, this is a little embarrassing.
Okay.
I'm watching through Northern Exposure right now
That's like the old school
from the
North.
'80s. Yeah,
Okay. I
yeah.
never watched that show or got into it, but
I just was looking for something,
yeah.
and I just wanted a lighthearted comedy, and so
This takes place in Alaska. Is that
Alaska,
okay?
Sicily, Alaska.
All right,
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out and give it a
yeah,
go. So,
yeah.
okay. Um, what's your hidden talent, Laura?
Oh, I used to say music, but that cat's kind of out of the
Yeah,
bag
that's
now.
not it's not hidden anymore.
I really like to cook,
Okay,
and
cool.
I'm really good at spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets.
Yes.
Nice. Man,
Yeah.
I'm glad that there are people that are good at spreadsheets in the
Yes.
world. I'm not
Yes.
one of those. So, okay. What's one thing on your bucket list?
Oh, I wanna see the Northern Lights.
You're watching Northern Exposure, so,
I know, you would
it just
think.
kind of came together. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
See the Northern Lights. Where would you
yeah.
go to see those if you could choose?
Okay, so I just got back from a vacation in Iceland, and I think that would be the perfect place,
Yeah.
but don't go in the summer if you wanna see the Northern Lights because the
Yeah.
sun never sets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I wanna go back to Iceland sometime later in the year
Yeah.
and explore more of the island. I think
That's
that would be
like
a great place.
that's my number one bucket list
Mhm,
place. Like,
mhm.
it's my dream to go to
Yeah,
Iceland.
yeah,
So I'm jealous that you went. We're gonna have to talk about that later
absolutely,
because,
for sure. I have
um,
tips and suggestions.
yeah, it's like an alien planet.
It was
And anyway,
wonderful.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Okay, I'm tempted to just go down that rabbit
I'm
hole,
so
but we'll
sorry,
save it
sorry.
for later. It's okay. All right. So talk about the devotionals.
Uh-huh.
What did you enjoy about writing these?
I I read I think what I really was surprised by
Mm,
was just the amount of the rabbit trailing that I happened that I was given the scripture
mhm.
to go through and just kind of looking at it and okay, what jumps out at me, and then reading a little bit before and after. Okay, what was
Yeah.
going on when
Yeah.
this was written and why was it written and who was it written to and what does it mean and what does it mean to them, and just the rabbit trailing of I was the Thessalonians. I
Mhm.
think it was one verse in Thessalonians, and I just went and this deep dive of looking through the entire book
Yeah.
and
Getting that
where is yeah,
context and
where
yeah.
why was the church started and how was it started and just that whole just the context and learning all about
Yeah.
what was going on at the time and then going, "Oh, right, but I'm writing about this." So I
Yeah.
think that was it was time consuming, but it was a
Yeah.
lot of fun and I learned a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fun. You do that like I do that. Like I love going down rabbit holes, and
Uh-huh.
sometimes
Uh-huh.
it's like paralyzing because I'm like, I need to write this one thing, and I keep
Uh-huh.
going over here and over here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that's part of the fun part. It's just filling in all the like surrounding context,
Yeah.
and it helps like bring new things to light that
Mhm.
you never would have noticed before. So,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, what was most challenging? Maybe it's the same answer, but what was most challenging about the writing the devos for you?
I think one of my biggest fears in just writing devotions in general is that I'm going to say something that will, I don't know, offend someone or
Hmm.
kind of turn someone away or push them in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So learning to trust that the constant prayer of God, use my words, say what you
Mm.
want to say, not what I want to say, and then trusting that what I'm writing is
Yeah.
what he wants to say.
That's right. Yeah, and you kinda put it out there and just have to trust the Lord
Yeah.
with it and go,
Yeah.
"Oh" yeah,
Yeah,
so,
there was a lot of, "Nope, we're just gonna let it go.
yeah.
It's I'm gonna trust that it's what you need." So
Well, if it helps you, I didn't read anything and go, "Oh my goodness," like,
yeah.
I can't believe she said nothing offended me, so,
Yeah. Good, good. I'm glad
I
to hear
was
that.
super encouraged by it. It was
Yeah.
on encouragement, so,
Mhm. Good.
it's good. Anything that, kinda maybe, you'd probably seen some of these passages before, but was there anything that jumped out at you in a fresh way or kind of a new insight that you received or learned as you were writing it? Anything that kinda
So I got a new Bible,
Mhm.
in preparation for this because
Cool.
I needed an excuse to get a new Bible anyway. I was excited about that. And so reading through the different commentary, of course, it has a different color
Mm.
of and just different opinions and thought processes ways that I hadn't looked at things before. And in the First Corinthians, that went on just an explanation about the action of verb and the
Mm.
feeling of love.
Yeah.
And I never correlated that before that this section is all about the actions and this section's
Mm.
on and there's the negativity of this is what happens when you don't do things with love and
Right.
then the positivity excuse me of this is what happens when you do
Yeah.
things properly in love, and
Yeah.
I'd never seen it in that light before, and it was really good.
Yeah. That
Mhm.
is cool. Yeah, it is that compare contrast, like what if it's lacking love, it's this. But when it
Yeah.
has love, it's this.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really beautiful. I
Yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
Um, okay, so talking about some of the texts that you chose, one of the ones was Hebrews 10:24, 25. Really,
Mhm.
both of those verses, but let us consider how to stimulate one another to love and good deeds. And so, in the context of encouragement, you gave the analogy of like, gosh, what it's like when we want to get in shape. And so we're going
Yeah.
to the gym, and it's
Mhm.
really helpful to have friends encouraging us
Yes.
to keep working out. I got a buddy that keeps encouraging me to go running with him, and he's going to keep encouraging me until I actually
Yeah.
get out the door and go running with him, and I need
Mhm.
to do that. But uh, obviously, you've experienced that with you call them your gym friends. But
Yes. Yes.
how have you experienced gym friends in the church? And I mean, I don't know if you've had any experiences that are similar like that, but or in Christian community in
Mhm.
general, like.
Mhm. Well, the more what I was getting at with that is the more that you spend time, the more where you spend your time is what
Mhm.
starts to influence your thoughts.
Yeah.
So when I'm thinking about going to the gym and I'm thinking about, oh, I need to eat this, I need to eat better. And then I start looking at Instagram videos on the gym and then more Instagram videos because Instagram is like, oh, you like gym stuff. Here's some
Yeah.
more. So what you think about and what you focus like what you do also affects what you think.
Mm.
So doing the re-ministries
Yeah.
like regen where I'm focusing on this is how my actions and what happens to me affects me and here's how I react to it, then you
Mm.
start thinking about that when you're not just doing um the the worksheets and when you're not meeting with your people,
Yeah.
but then you also have those people that you can bounce the ideas off
Yeah.
of.
Mhm.
So that's why small groups are important, why the
Yeah.
re-ministries are important, because the more time you spend with those people talking about those things, the more it starts to influence your
Yeah.
thoughts as well.
That's really good. Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
it's almost like you're, like, if you're in Reengage or whatever or Regen, like, those folks become your gym friends, and so
Yes,
it's like
that
it's
was
just like
exactly my
yeah,
point,
your
yeah.
gym friends are like, "Hey,
Mhm.
let me tell you about this workout routine I've been doing," and so then,
Yes,
like, in the
yes,
re-ministries, it's like, "Hey, let me tell you how, like, this has been working for us in our marriage, or this has been working
yes,
for me in this struggle," and yeah,
yes,
so, yeah,
yes, that
that's
is
cool.
exactly the
Great
correlation. Mhm,
analogy. I
mhm.
love that. I know I've experienced that just in community as well. And just gosh, we can't make it alone. We have to have those gym friends
Absolutely,
in the church
absolutely,
too. So
everywhere. Mhm.
yeah. Uh I cracked up a little bit on the part about, like, you mentioned how some of us like think, well, encouragement is a spiritual gift, and
Mhm.
that's not really my spiritual gift. And so,
Right.
like, sometimes we're like,
Yes.
hey, that gives me a pass. I don't need to be an
Mhm,
encourager of
mhm.
people. Um, and I think I can relate to that on a level. Russell joked on Sunday that about those folks who have the gift of criticism, right?
Yes.
And I
Mhm,
was like,
mhm.
yeah, I can relate to that a little
Yes.
bit. So, what would you say to those people that, you know, t- like those folks to whom encouragement doesn't come naturally? It's like, this isn't my bent. I'm not an encourager. What do you say to them? Like,
Well, I get stuck in that sometimes
yeah,
too. And I think I said this in one of them, that I've learned that I tend to be a negative person. Like I just
mm,
focus on the negativity. And the more you look for negative things, you're never going to see the positive
mhm.
things. So first of all, stop saying that you're not good at it because you don't know. Because the
Yeah,
more you tell yourself you're not good at it, the worse you're going to be at
that's
it.
right. Unless you're going to
So
try it, right? Yeah,
exactly. So instead of going like, oh, this I don't really see look for opportunities where you can
yeah,
encourage and just kind of try and shift the focus instead of
yeah,
I can't do this to, well, let me look for ways that I can do this.
yeah,
And start with little things, a note to somebody, a little text saying, "Hey, I'm thinking about
yeah,
you." And just start somewhere and see where it goes.
yeah.
And just like anything else, the more you practice, the better you're going
That's
to get
right.
at it.
To push our gym analogy a little further,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
like, if I go to the gym, I haven't worked out in a while, I see something, I go, "Ish, I don't think I can do that."
Yeah.
But then I start to kind of work into it, and I work up to a level, and it's the same thing with encouragement, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got to start somewhere,
Right.
and then you go, "Oh man,
Yeah.
that was good."
Yeah.
It's
Well, and you make a really good point about you get there and you see everybody else working out and you're like, "Oh man, I would never
hmm
do that."
yeah,
Stop looking at other people.
comparison, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, just go, "You know what? I'm here. I'm just gonna walk on the treadmill for
Yeah.
10 minutes. And I don't care what anybody else thinks. I'm
Mm.
not trying to be that guy over there that's benching 300 pounds. I'm just going to
Right.
come and I'm going to walk on the treadmill and I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
And then you get up the next day and you do 12 minutes
Yeah.
and just don't be looking at other people and thinking that you're terrible because you're not them.
Yeah. And that's actually another a great point too of comparison. It's not just comparing yourself with people who are really good at encouragement. It's
Yes.
comparing yourself to people who have a certain style or way of encouraging others, right?
Yes.
Like so like you're in a gym, everybody's trying to get healthy. You got the guy over here
Hmm.
like, I don't know, deadlifting however many
Yeah.
300 pounds or whatever and you're like, yeah, that's not me. But that's his deal. And so like I think of
Yeah.
encouragement like um a lot of us think of encouragement as like high energy, like high five, yeah,
Yeah.
man, great
Hmm.
job. And but then like the story video on Sunday was about like encouragers within a small group who they were just with people when
Hmm.
they're going through a hard season and just friends to them and doing life with them and encouraging them in that way, right?
Yeah.
It's not like so encouragement doesn't always have to be take the form of a cheerleader is what I'm trying to
No,
say, right?
no, and when I think Chad talked about it a little bit too in
Mhm,
his, sermon on discipleship,
mhm.
that just, "Hey, let's go to Target."
Yeah.
Sometimes just being near another person is all the encouragement that somebody needs.
Yep. Yeah, and you talked about just the power of listening.
Mhm,
One of the things I jotted down is encouragement starts with truly hearing someone.
mhm.
Um, and I guess with that, like, how do our modern lives drown out the voices of the people around us? Like,
Yes.
I think of all the ways we are distracted. You mentioned like even Instagram
Instagram.
earlier or
Mhm,
whatever,
mhm.
but I mean. Um, I don't know if you could talk about that a little bit. Like, how have you seen that? Like, if encouragement starts with truly hearing someone, what are the barriers to that?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
technology, and you did ask what shows I've been binging.
Hmm.
So if I'm binging something, then I'm not talking to my
It's
family.
true. Yeah.
So I just had a conversation with Brian earlier this week about how when we sit down and watch TV together, that's not spending time together.
Hmm.
That's just us
Yeah. You're in the
mindless.
same room
Yes.
together, right?
Yeah, we're not connecting at that
Yeah.
point. So we need to find times to connect outside of just watching TV together.
Yeah.
So that yeah, TV, Instagram, just the texting when we're having dinner, no
Mm.
phones at the table when we're having
Yeah.
dinner
It's good.
together.
Good.
Even though, I mean, my youngest will be 19 in a couple of weeks, we still
Yeah.
have family dinners and we
That's
put our
great.
phones away. Yeah.
Good for you guys. That's awesome.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And then we do something at the table, not every night, but it's like we do uh it's called high-low buffalo. We've got a different name for it. It's stupid. But anyway, and we share our highs from the
Mhm,
day, our low
mhm.
from the day, and then just kind of a random thing we learned.
Something
That's the
weird. I
buffalo.
love
And
it.
and
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
and you know what I've found in like those conversations is you see somebody's heart and what encouraged them and what discouraged them and then kind of that random thing. And it's an opportunity to just engage and enter in and offer encouragement. And so yeah, I think having those things like, hey, we're not going to have phones. We're going to talk at the dinner table, or
Mhm, mhm.
we're going to have intentional time together, allowing space for to hear people
Yeah.
opens the door for encouragement, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I think we and the technology is great that we can instantly connect with each other, but
mhm.
it's not you need to connect outside of the device
Yeah, yeah,
and actually the presence.
yeah. Like some of us fool ourselves and we think like, oh, I use my device to encourage people, like, and
Yes.
it's like, yeah,
Yes.
like really, like how much, or like
Yeah, it's
but
right, but that's
you can use it for that, but
yeah, it needs to be a yes and,
yeah.
not yes instead of.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's good. Okay, so for some of us, it's not like our phones that are drowning us out. For some of us, it may just be, gosh, we just tend to kind of stay in the negative. You mentioned just fighting
Yes.
fighting
Mhm. Mhm.
negativity. What are some helpful ways that you see that we can? I mean, gosh, like it's going to be hard for me to encourage people when I'm staying in a negative place, right? So
Mhm.
how do we fight negativity? And what are ways that you've found to fight negativity that help I don't know, look outwardly to encourage people.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is recognizing that you're
Hmm.
negative. I think that's a really hard thing for people to
Yeah.
I get, like I said, I get stuck in it. I actually just had a situation this week where somebody was doing something that annoyed me, and I had to stop and go, "You know what? You're annoyed because of the person. You're
Mm.
not annoyed because of the behavior. And if someone else were doing this, you'd bend over backwards to
Mm.
help them." So just that recognition of, "Oh, I'm really being negative towards
Yeah.
this person, and I need to think about changing my attitude
Yeah.
and work on that." So, which is have trusted people in your life that can help point that out gently, like,
Yeah.
maybe you're looking at this situation a different wrong,
Yeah.
little bit wrong, a little bit negative. And I think prayer is
Mm.
huge,
Hmm.
and time spent in the word, because when you don't have someone in your life who can speak into that, then God will.
Yeah.
And just the paying attention to that gentle, that small still voice.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It is hard. But I mean, even as you're talking, I'm thinking of it's kind of a verse we use in our family a lot, Philippians 4, and it talks about be anxious for nothing. Literally, that word means don't be consumed with the matter. And I think
Okay.
this is
Yeah.
what happens like when we get focused on something negative, it just latches on and it loops in
Oh
our
yeah.
brains. And then we can't even think about encouraging somebody else because we're just focused on the negative. And it
Yeah.
and it says, be anxious for nothing, but in prayer and supplication, let your requests be made known to God. So that's that
Mhm.
prayer aspect,
Mhm.
releasing it to Him.
Yeah.
And then a few verses later, it says, whatever's true, whatever's noble, whatever's right, whatever's excellent and praiseworthy. All of those words there are about people, right? I mean, in the text, like
Okay.
those are focused on people. And the context is like urging two people to get along, actually, like I urge Yodia and Syntyche to
Mhm.
get along. And so then, like when we are focused on the negative, we release it to the Lord and then start thinking about like what are the positive things about this person or this situation, um and then we can actually look beyond ourselves and what's consuming our minds to
Yes.
encourage other people.
Yes.
And so as you were talking and describing that, I was
Yeah.
reminded of that, thinking that's the same principle,
Yes.
right? And so yeah,
Nailed it. Good job.
yeah, I
Good
think,
job.
but I think you're right on. Like we get stuck in these negative cycles, and
Mhm.
how can we encourage people when we are in that negative
Yeah.
loop? And
Yeah.
so,
It's hard.
yeah, I love that you went into that, uh, because we do have to combat our negativity,
Mhm.
and we got to be honest about it.
Yeah.
So,
And it's a constant battle. It's not something that you're gonna be like, "Well, I don't have to deal with that anymore because I
yeah,
fixed it." No, you didn't.
yeah,
It's gonna
no,
come back. Yeah.
no, yeah, it will come back. And
Mhm.
so, actually, that one of the other questions I jotted down, because this I really enjoyed. It was the last devotional that you
Mhm.
wrote. You mentioned being honest about it, which that honesty is vulnerability, which is
Yes.
something in our re-ministries we
It's
celebrate and
huge.
encourage. And you wrote about that connection of vulnerability and encouragement. So how does opening up to others connect those two? How does opening up to others create space for encouragement?
That's a good question. Can I
Well, you wrote about it, and
I know, it has been a while, and
no,
I
it's
don't
okay.
remember.
It's okay.
Yeah, so how does being vulnerable open you up to encouragement?
Yeah.
And I think part of being an encouraging person is putting yourself out there.
Mhm.
You open yourself up to rejection, honestly,
Mhm.
because you're trying to reach out to someone else. And sometimes we have a prescribed response that we're looking for, and
Yeah.
you may not get that response, and that can be painful.
Yeah, it's a
So
risk.
it,
Yeah.
it is definitely a risk. But so just being willing to put yourself out there,
Yeah.
and the more you practice vulnerability, the easier it gets.
Mhm. And it also, I think, when you're practicing it, um, gosh, I mean, it's in the context of community, you're actually encouraging others to be vulnerable. And
Yeah.
then actually you're providing that space to enter into other people's worlds
Mhm.
and offer encouragement and even receive encouragement. Because, if I'm hiding, nobody
Yeah.
knows that I need encouragement, right? But
Yeah.
then when I open up, somebody goes, "Oh, I had no idea you were struggling with it.
Yeah.
Like, thanks for sharing." And
Yeah.
then they open up, and that
Yes.
opens up a
Yes.
door for encouragement as well. And so
Yeah.
I thought that was just a beautiful connection
Mhm.
in the devos that you pointed out. And
Thank you. Yeah.
no, thank you.
Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, well, and just in that process of being involved, when you share something, then somebody's like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that it was okay." Like, I've struggled with that too. I had
yes,
no idea. I thought it was the secret thing that I had to keep hidden.
yeah, yeah. It encourages people because they know they're not alone, right? Like
Right,
I'm,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like to use our gym analogy, I
Mhm.
didn't know anybody else was intimidated by
Yes,
those people
yes,
in the corner that are like way more fit and in shape than I am.
yes.
It's like,
It can be
yeah,
intimidating for sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so you talked about it, how encouragement is not a one-time event or an action,
Right.
right? And
Mhm.
so we're talking about like taking baby steps
Mhm.
um and sometimes that might just be like, hey, like try every day to encourage someone, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but encouragement shouldn't just stay in this place of being just like a checklist, like I did it, I'm done for the day.
Mhm.
You mentioned like it's just this continuous
Yeah.
journey. And so what are ways that we can make it a more reflexive part of our life, a more natural, normal part of our life? I mean, we obviously have to work toward that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. For sure.
Practice like working out and getting stronger. But
Yeah. Yeah.
how do we train our muscles and our minds and our speech to be more encouraging toward others?
Again, another great question.
Yeah,
Yeah. I hate to go just keep going back to practice, but
yeah,
practice.
yeah.
Try it out on your family. Let's say
That's
that.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, start
Yeah.
start there.
Start in a
Yeah.
safe place.
Hmm.
Um, and my mind went completely blank.
No, but it is.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Starting in a safe place where like
Mhm.
somebody where there's maybe some freedom to go, "Hey dad, that wasn't super encouraging."
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
Well, yeah, and I tried now that I've been through the re-ministries, I try to be more honest about like, "Hey, I didn't handle that situation
mhm,
very well, and sorry about that. We're gonna try again."
yeah.
So, going back to the vulnerability and just giving it a shot,
Mm,
but incorporating it into your life, and how do you incorporate it into your life and be more intentional about that?
yeah.
Yeah,
I like what you said though, starting in uh that first sphere of community that you have, which is your
yeah,
family.
hmm hmm
And then I think, you know, I think where you're headed with that is, we've already talked a lot about just community, the importance of that. And
hmm
so like I think as you were saying, starting with your family, I'm thinking concentric circles, right? Like
Yes,
then like
yes.
it's why we've been encouraging people to get involved in a small group or community through the UR series is get in another sphere of influence where you can practice encouragement
Yes.
and then like and then take it into your workplace with people you're less comfortable with, right? And then
Yeah.
like and I think that's maybe one of the ways we can train
Yeah.
ourselves and
Yeah.
um
Start where it's easy.
yeah,
Don't just jump into the deep end and
yeah.
try to bench 300 pounds when you
Right.
just walk into the gym. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you even mentioned earlier, just send a simple text, right?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
start small. And
Mhm.
then, like I think that's some people feel intimidated about like I'm not that cheerleader high five guy
Yeah.
or I
Mhm.
don't have
Mhm.
anything profound to say to encourage this person. And we hear people with the gift of encouragement and it's just like it just flows effortlessly
Yeah.
off their
Yeah.
lips. And it's like, oh man, I can't think of anything that eloquent to say.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, great job today, or hey,
Yeah.
like I really loved how you did this. And
Yeah.
it can be super simple. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
sometimes I think that sometimes I don't say things because I'm afraid that like I only have a few minutes. I only have the time to go, "Hey,
Mm,
I was thinking about you." And I and then I'm afraid that like they're going to call me and they're going to talk for an hour and
right.
now I have all this time and I have all this stuff that I have to get done and I can't because I have to it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
So just recognize just get rid of the prescribed response, get rid of what you think the person is supposed to react and what you think they're going to do
Yeah.
and just trust that God will use whatever you say.
That's good. And I think, you know, you it's one of the things in the Devos is you talked about how we can sometimes encourage people to get something in return, right? It's like
Yes,
sometimes
yes.
actually encouragement can be
Yeah.
self-focused.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
I want to encourage someone. A lot of times we're like baiting them like, hey, you did a great job. And what we want to hear back is, hey, so did you,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
when
yeah.
we don't get that, it's like, oh And I wouldn't have said that if I did.
Or like well, and you talked about people that are like amazing encouragers,
Yeah.
and sometimes I get stuck and I want people to be like, "Oh my gosh, she's so amazing.
Right.
She is just so encouraging, and I love being around her."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
not because of me or the spirit of God in me, but because I'm great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a terrible trap to get into.
Yeah, so we gotta check our motives
Yep,
even with encouragement, and yeah.
everything, all the time.
Yeah. Well, Laura, thanks again.
Mhm.
This has been fun. I've really
Yeah,
enjoyed talking about this more, and you're an encouragement to be around. So
thank you.
it flows from you, and really appreciate you helping lead our church family to think
Mhm.
about encouragement from a biblical perspective,
Yeah,
and start practicing it.
yeah,
So thanks so much for
great.
that. I
Yeah, thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having me.
Yeah. And listen, if you're watching today, one of the things I hope you heard is that community is a great place to start when it comes to encouragement. And maybe you're watching and you're not just struggling to know how to encourage others, which I would think I want to encourage you to get in community, use that as a training ground to start encouraging others. But then if you're struggling to get encouragement, you're feeling discouraged, you need community. And so we want to challenge you today, get in community and learn what a gift encouragement is in the context of community. So thanks again for joining us, Laura. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, we hope to see you next time.